Hi everyone! I wanted to do my own quick video response to your video responses for a Midsummer Night's Dream. Now I have some notes over here about what I want to make sure I talk to you all about, so in case you're wondering why I keep glancing over all the time, I'm not looking at my phone, I'm just trying to remember what I want to say to you all. I want to begin by saying congratulations on successfully reading a play by William Shakespeare. For those of you who maybe this is not the first one you read by Shakespeare, and also for those of you who this might be your first time reading Shakespeare. Congratulations to all of you. I know Shakespeare can sometimes feel maybe inaccessible or irrelevant or just strange because the language is heightened. It's different than from what we're used to hearing and seeing. So when we encounter those words on the page, we might panic and think, oh, I have no idea what's going on. This isn't what I'm used to. I want to acknowledge that and say, it's okay that you feel that way. I'm a theater person. I'm in grad school for theater, and sometimes I encounter a Shakespearean text and I look at some words and I think, I have no idea what that means. So I just want to say, you're not alone. We're all in this boat together. But I wanted to give you a couple strategies for how you might approach those moments where you're feeling confused by the text. And this doesn't only apply to Shakespeare, this can apply to other plays as well, if you're having trouble understanding actions or moments or language or things like that. So I wanted to begin by saying that an important thing to do is use context. If you encounter some language in the text, or you encounter a moment of action or a choice that confuses you or you don't know what's going on, use context. What action or language happened right before this moment? And what action or language is happening right after this moment? And how might the knowledge of those circulating actions and moments and language, pieces of language, how might those inform the thing that you're confused about? And how might it add greater perspective? So look for those embedded clues in the text where you think, oh, well, since this just happened, maybe this is what this line means. Or because somebody reacts to this line in this way, maybe this is what it means. So context is really important. Also, with Shakespeare specifically, rhythm is a really important tool for us. So Shakespeare writes in iambic pentameter, this rhythm of verse, 10 syllables, five stressed, five unstressed, and five stressed in an alternating pattern. So if we're encountering a piece of text that is in iambic pentameter, and it isn't always, he doesn't consistently write in it, but he often does. If we find text that is in iambic pentameter, we can think, okay, what are the stressed syllables here? We can mark it out. What are the stressed syllables here? Now that I know what the stressed syllables are, how can that maybe help me learn what Shakespeare was wanting me to particularly pay attention to? What was he trying to stress with his language? So that's a good tool too. And of course, if after all of that you're still feeling confused, you're still thinking, I have no idea what's going on, these plays have been around for a really long time, and a lot of very, very, very smart people have written about them. So if you're feeling stuck, I encourage you to pursue legitimate academic sources, either online or in books. If you have a physical copy of Shakespeare, of a Shakespearean text, those often have footnotes, which can be really, really helpful in terms of helping you discern what's going on. So turn to those if you need to. Don't rely on them entirely. A popular one is, of course, Spark Notes, No Fear Shakespeare. And I just encourage you to not read all of No Fear Shakespeare and think that you read a full Shakespearean play. Don't do that. You'll lose a lot of the meaning and a lot of the nuance and a lot of the fun in the text. But if you are feeling confused, you can turn to No Fear Shakespeare for a line or two and then try to put it away and try to challenge yourself and see what you can figure out on your own through your powers of deduction and reasoning, because you're all, of course, super smart. So challenge yourself in that way. And I also wanted to remind you that you will be seeing a performance of A Midsummer Night's Dream at the Ohio State University Department of Theater this semester, starring a lot of my great friends, the MFA actors in the Department of Theater, and also a lot of talented undergraduate students. So when you go to that production, think about How does this production maybe match my expectations that were based on the script? How is it maybe different than what I expected based on the script? Find out just basically where are the differences, where are the similarities, and maybe why the director and the actors chose those differences or similarities based on what you were expecting to see. So that's a really cool opportunity that you read this play and done assignments on it, and that you'll get to see it and kind of gain a different eye on it there, right? So, I wanted to end by circling back to the question that you were given about the all male cast. And one thing that nobody really touched on, but I wanted to get to, just to introduce the idea to you all, was the idea of performance affect. And so, the idea of affect, as I understand it, is that what we see on stage means something. And that's a super vague term, obviously. But in particular, what I'm interested in this moment is the bodies that we see on stage change the way we view that performance. So when you have an all male cast, it's not necessarily, oh, well, that's just what they were used to and it doesn't mean anything to them, right? Having all male bodies on stage might affect the performance, might affect the audience so that they understand the content of the piece of theater differently. So we might understand an all male cast of A Midsummer Night's Dream to have a queering effect. And what I mean by that is when you have an all male cast, perhaps the audience has a different perception of the relationships, romantic relationships in particular, portrayed on stage in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And perhaps there is a perceived queering of those relationships, and that Hermia and Helena and Demetrius and Lysander are all men and are all played by men, and they're all portraying romantic love. So that's something to think about. You know, even if that's not the director's intent or the playwright's intent, it's something to think about. How do the bodies on stage change our perception of the performance or the content, right? Because every action does something. Again, that's a very vague statement. But hopefully you understand what I mean. If you don't, please comment below and maybe I can explain it a bit more. I have colleagues who know a lot more about this than I do. But hopefully that can, and so if you have questions, I can go to them and ask them for more perspective so I can learn more and I can help you learn more. So that's just something to think about. Overall, really great job. I'll see you later. Bye.